Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to week 4 of CLEARURSH T. CLEARURSH T is a storied readathon that primarily takes place during November and December, but in June of the last 2 years they do a mini readathon that's only 4 weeks long, and the goal of CLEARURSH T is to read down your physical TBR, the ultimate goal of getting to having 0 unread books in your house. Look, a girl can dream, okay? And I have a lot of fun doing this. I just started doing it this last year, but I had a great time, and it's always a fun way to kind of sift through the books that are on my TBR. I am behind, because of course I am, and of course I am going into the last week. One of the prompts for last week was to read a book with a map in it, and I picked Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames, and I only got 52 pages into it. So I will be starting with this book because I need to catch up. Though I don't feel good about my odds of catching up with like a 500-page book, but you know, that's what happens sometimes. And then I have forgotten what the other prompts are, so we're gonna take a look real quick. Okay, so then 2 prompts for this week are a book someone recommended. I don't know about that one. We're gonna have to go look at the bookshelves. And a book that is a part of a series. So if you watched last week, you will know that I started cheating last week, which is, you know, just how it goes sometimes. And I may cheat this week. We'll see. We'll just see how this goes. Because like I said, this is the last week, but I also have like a lot of stuff going on. Also, if you watched last week, then you will know that by cheating, what I did was I started to reread the Lady Sherlock series by Sherry Thomas, which technically is a book that I already own, but is also a book that I have read multiple times, and I am wanting to continue on with my reread in a series, with my reread of the series, because book 8 comes out very soon. And so I think for a book that is a part of a series, I am going to continue with my reread of Lady Sherlock. I am going to start A Conspiracy in Belgravia, which means the only book I need to really find a prompt, the only prompt I need to find a book for is a book someone recommended. And it has to be out of the books that I already have on my shelf. So let's go take a look at the shelves and see what my choices are. Okay, I know what book I'm gonna pick, and I'm not excited about it, but it needs to get done because it's on my June TBR, and it's my book for Buzzword Readathon, which is to read a book that has letters in the words in the title that repeat themselves. I'm gonna read There by Tommy Orange, and this has been recommended to me multiple times since it came out. I'm not excited because I know content-wise this is a heavier book, but I think this will be a good mix of titles to bounce around with this week between high fantasy, historical mystery, and literary fiction, contemporary fiction. I think that'll probably be a good mix, and then I have lots of books where I can take a break when that starts to feel too heavy. So that is the plan for this last week of CLEARURSH T. Do I have anything going on this week? No, we just got back from vacation 2 hours ago. So I'm doing all the loads of laundry and trying to get organized for this next week of work, and we'll just see how it goes. So I did the exact thing I promised myself I wasn't going to do, and I am reading all 3 of my CLEARURSH T books at the same time. And I told myself I was going to start them slowly, but alas, that is not what I did. So I just picked up a grocery order because I haven't figured out when to go to the grocery store now that the kids are on summer vacation. And of course, I'm at another grocery store because one of the things that one of my kids really loves to eat was too expensive at the other grocery store. So I'm picking it up from the cheaper one. And I forgot to order Go-Gurts. which is basically like what my kids are living on this summer. So before I go in, I'm going to give you an update because I keep forgetting to do it when I'm at home. And apparently we're going to talk about all 3 books. Okay. Let's start with Kings of the Wild. I'm halfway through and I'm having a good time. I don't think it's going to be like an all-time favorite. So the story is that we have these 5 guys that were a band of mercenaries, I guess, when they were younger, and they were really famous, and they had all these adventures and did all these not great deeds, but they did things. They have some like notoriety in the kingdom. And it's been 20 years. They've all kind of gone their separate ways and gone and done different things. And then one of them comes to our primary character, Clay, comes to Clay's house. And this character, Gabriel, his daughter, has gone into this really dangerous place with her own band of mercenaries. And there's no way for her to come out of the situation alive. So Gabriel is begging Clay to help him save his daughter. And so Clay very reluctantly says yes, because, he has his own life that he's very comfortable with and he wants to stay alive and be in that life. But he also has a daughter who is younger, but, knows that if the situation were reversed, he would want his friends to say yes to helping rescue his daughter. So he says yes, and thus they proceed to get the gang back together again. But of course, nothing is going the way it's supposed to go. I'm halfway through, and they're trying to get to where they're supposed to be going, but all the things that could go wrong do go wrong. And so most of the book is spent them trying to deal and manage all the things that are going wrong. And so at the point that we're in, I know there's another book. I don't know if it's a duology or if it's going to be a longer series, but I know there's a second book so far. And so at this point, I'm like, are we even going to get where we're going in this book? Or is this plot that we're getting in this book, is that going to carry us over to 2 books? I just don't know. But I am having a good time. I think it's I think it's funny, and it's got a lot of adventure, and the stakes feel high, but it's not grim by any means. So I like that it's fun. I like that it's a little bit more lighthearted. I like the humor when it pops up. I think it's really funny. And there's a gay character, which I definitely was not expecting in this book. It's like a secondary-ish main character, but yeah, I'm having fun. I don't think it's going to be a favorite though. I don't think this does not feel like a 5-star. This feels like probably a 4-star, something I had a good time with, but maybe I won't. I'm not obsessed with it, which is fine. I don't have to be obsessed with every single book I pick up. It's fine. And then I did start the audiobook for Conspiracy in Belgravia. This is book 2 in the Lady Sherlock series, which is a gender-swapped Sherlock Holmes historical mystery series. And we're picking up pretty much right after book 1 ended and kind of dealing with some of the reveals at the end of that book. And we're getting to know this one starts, okay. One of the characters in this series is Ash Ingram, and Ash is a lord, and he and Scarlet have known why do I keep calling her Scarlet? He and Charlotte have known each other for a very long time, since Charlotte was 15. No, since Charlotte was 13 and Ash was 15. And Ash was her first kiss, and they have this tension, and Ash, unfortunately, much to everyone's dismay and disappointment, has married somebody else and has been married to somebody else for a long time, has children with her, but their marriage is very strained and distant, and they're not close, and everybody who sees Charlotte and Ash together are like, Ash Ingram, you imbecile, why did you marry this other woman when Charlotte was right there? But this mystery revolves around Ash's wife, and we learn more about her, and then this book is really kind of a catalyst for a lot of the stuff that's going to happen in the rest of the series. So I can't get too much into spoilers, but yeah, everyone's just kind of dealing with revelations, various revelations that were made in the first book. And Sherry Thomas is one of those authors where she does not hold your hand with reminding you about what's happened in previous books. She just expects you to be a big girl and figure it out on your own. And I really struggle with it, especially when there's a year in between publication, because as we know, my memory is trash. So I always find rereading these books to be really valuable. And I just love being back with these characters again. I'm only 20% into it, but it's just so lovely. I have such a good time with it. And then finally, this is the last book. Oh, almost 50 pages into There by Tommy Orange. The writing in this is so good. I like it a lot. So we're getting a whole bunch. How many points of view are there? Does it say? Oh, 12. God, that's a lot. I'm only on the third one, but okay, each chapter is a different point of view, and we start off with, I'm not remembering anybody's name, so that is not important. Tony is our first character, and Tony has fetal alcohol syndrome. And so Tony kind of tells us about his childhood and how people treat him because of his fetal alcohol syndrome, and how he views his fetal alcohol syndrome. And it's almost like an alter ego for him, or like a split personality. Like he doesn't consider it part of who he is, but every once in a while, like when he looks in the mirror, he sees it. And it's like a different person. And then the second chapter is Denny, and he is an aspiring documentary filmmaker, and his uncle died from alcohol poisoning, like long-term alcohol poisoning. Is that what it's called? When he was a young teen, and that really shaped his adulthood. So we learn about like his childhood and his relationship with his uncle and his relationship with his mom. And then the chapter I'm on right now is Opal's chapter. And yeah, so I'm nervous about 12. That feels like a lot, but I'm trusting that since the writing has been so good so far, that it'll carry me through just fine, and it won't feel overwhelming, and I won't get confused. I have just been reading it with my eyeballs, but I do have the audiobook on Libro.fm because I grabbed the ALC for this when it first came out, when I was still a bookseller. And I'll probably switch over to the audiobook at some point, but to the surprise of no one, reading during summer break for the kiddos has been a little hit or miss and kind of a struggle. But, you know, it's just how it is. It's just a season. It's just a season, and then our life will go back to normal, whatever that means. I am liking a lot not having to make lunches in the morning and not having any alarm clocks to deal with. For the kids, my alarm clock still goes off, but like not having to get the kids up and get them ready is really nice. And not having to leave the house to go pick the youngest up from school in the afternoon is also really nice. So the pros of summer vacation definitely outweigh the cons of summer vacation for me. So with that said, I need to go get breakfast sandwiches and Go-Gurt and then go home and get ready for work. So I will update you all, I guess, when I finish something. Who knows when that will be, but okay. To the surprise of everyone, especially myself, I finished A Conspiracy in Belgravia. I've had the audiobook on more or less all day, with a couple of breaks because we've gone out and done stuff today too. But I finished it. Mystery-wise, I think this is my least favorite of the series. We'll have to see if that remains true as I progress. I'm not super attached to the mystery in this one, but the mystery in this one is necessary because it's a reveal about another character, and it really sets a lot of things in motion for book 3, and book 3 is my favorite, one of my favorites of the whole series. I really love book 3. I've already like checked the audiobook out from the library and downloaded it, and just not letting myself start it yet, but I'm really excited to get into book 3. But I do, while I don't like the mystery for this one, I do really love all the character interactions in this one. And I think that's what's really going to come across, like, as I talk about this series. I am not in it for the mystery, and I don't pay super close attention to the mystery anymore when I read these books. I'm much more interested in the character dynamics and in these relationships and in how they are relating to each other. And in this one, in book 2, we're really setting the foundation for what is going to come, which is very cool now to be able to see, like, oh yeah, this is where this started. That's nice. So yeah, like I said, we have
Mom,
yes.
Mom, we have a revelation. Wait, no, we don't have a revelation. We have a travesty.
What?
Darcy and Bingley, who is like engaged to Jane now, left the country.
Oh no.
Then, like 3 days after, I just
Okay. Don't. It's not my fault. The book hurt you.
no.
There you go. Watch out for my
Read
camera.
this. Read this. Read this.
Okay, go finish your dinner.
I'm going to do something like after putting it.
What was I even saying about this book? Who knows? Doesn't matter. It's great. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 just because the mystery is not my favorite, but I love everything else about this book. Okay, bye. Alright, I just got home from work. It's Saturday. I have 2 days left. Clear your shit. Do I think I'm gonna finish everything I have left? Well, no, I don't know. We'll see. I have about 70 pages left in there. And this is doing a thing that I like so much in books, where they're almost, I know I told you I had these 12 perspectives, and they're almost written as vignettes. And part of like the fun of reading this is to see how all these characters are going to start to connect to each other. And I love that writing convention. I just think it's so, it makes a book so much more interesting for me. And oh, I just realized I match. It was not on purpose. But I would say this book doesn't, like, I would not say this was funny. Like, this is not, I don't know who decided to say it was funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's really interesting. I think it's really well written. It's not as heavy as I was anticipating. Now, I'm not trying to say that this is a lighthearted book by any means, because it's not. Like, we deal, like, it talks about substance abuse. It talks about child neglect. It talks about, like, family abuse. Like, there's a lot of really heavy themes and heavy topics in this book, but the way they are written about and the way Tommy Orange approaches them, it doesn't feel like, you know how sometimes you pick up a book and it has heavier themes and it feels like trauma just for trauma's sake, and like there's nothing else except for you to feel sad about what is happening to the characters. I've read a couple books like that. I don't feel like the heavy topics are just weaved so seamlessly into the story that Tommy Orange is telling, that while it is heavy, it doesn't feel like it's not weighing me down. I don't feel like I need to take breaks. I feel like it's easy to consume despite having really heavy themes and topics. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, let me know. Hopefully that makes sense. But I have really enjoyed, feels like the wrong word, but I've really enjoyed reading this, and I've really enjoyed when I've listened to the audiobook. It is multicast, which is great because, again, we're switching perspectives. A few of those characters have circled back around and we've gotten them a second time, and it's really cool to start to see how they are connected and how they are all going to be brought together. If you don't want to know what the connective tissue is, just like skip ahead 30 seconds. But this is all culminating in this powwow that is going to be taking place in Oakland, California. And so we're watching all of these characters move to where they need to be at that event, and then something potentially catastrophic is going to happen at this powwow. So it's getting to the point where I'm having a hard time putting it down because I want to know if what I think is going to happen and what the characters are leading me to believe is going to happen is going to happen. But yeah, this is really good. I like it a lot. I'm not surprised that it's really good because I've been told by so many people it's really good. And generally when I branch out and I pick up literary fiction, because I'm so choosy about which ones I read, I tend to enjoy them when I pick them up. But I just don't pick them up very often, which I think is good. I feel like if I picked them up more often than I would be then I'd probably be pickier, like how I am now for romance and science fiction and fantasy, since that's what I read so much. That's the genres I end up being super picky about. So I am happy that I am liking literary fiction, but I am by no means compelled to pick up more literary fiction. And then I also came home to book mail. I bought this off Pango. I've been looking at buying this book for probably a solid month, maybe a month and a half. And it's not available at my library, like at all. The ebook is only available on Hoopla. There's no audiobook. And I can only read Hoopla on my phone, and I don't like to read books on my phone. I've been looking around to buy a copy, and then I happened to finally sell a couple of books on Pango, so I had Pango bucks, and so I decided to use it on this. So I only had to spend like 67 cents of my own money, which is great. And I think it's going to be a really fun book to add to my Summerween TBR. And it's Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven. And I think this is Fantastic Land is a theme park. And I believe this premise is that there's like a hurricane. Yeah, there's a hurricane that I want to say attacks, but that makes it sound like it's a shark or a monster. But there's a hurricane that attacks the Florida coast, and Fantastic Land is in Florida, and then it like isolates the park and people die. And I've heard that this book is told in like interview format after the fact about what happened, and I think that could be fun. I haven't read a horror yet that is set in an amusement park, but I'm very interested in that like setup. I think that could be really fun. It always makes me think of, it's not the same, but it always makes me think of the theme park scene in Percy Jackson in the Lightning Thief. That's just always what I go to. So anyways, yeah, this is much thinner than I thought it would be, so that is perfect because I want my Summerween TBR to be actionable and not just what's the word I want? I can't remember the word I want, but I want to have a realistically achieved Summerween TBR there, if that's what it is. So that's my little book haul, my singular book haul. I'm so tired, I'm so hungry, I need to go eat and have coffee. These are my last set of classes for like the next week. We don't have classes for the next week, partly because of the 4th of July and so many families travel and we just know turnout will be low, and also because we just have to reset the calendar because our sessions are only 4 weeks long. So when we get into months that have 5 weeks, we generally have to take like a week off to kind of reset every once in a while, and that's what this next week is going to be, which is awesome. But I did have low turnout today, big time for all my classes, and it made me so goofy in class because since there are fewer young children to manage, I got harder to manage. I don't know. It's like my ADHD just like spiked, but luckily like all my kids today that I have on Saturdays are pretty chill, and their parents have known me for a decent amount of time, and if they judge me for being goofy, I think it's kindly. So anyways, I'm officially on like vacation now. Woohoo! So I'm gonna go eat food. I'm going to see about finishing there, but the kids and the husband should be home soon. So I'll see how much I can get done this afternoon. Okay, bye. This is a look. I finished. I kind of take back what I said before. The ending was really sad. Also, not a book for those who like their endings all neat and tidy. I mean, granted, it's a messy. These are messy people the whole time through, so it makes sense. It fits. I really liked it. I'm going to give it 5 stars. I think this is really, really well done. Yeah, I don't know that I have a whole lot of thoughts outside of that. I mean, like, obviously more stuff to say if we're going to include spoilers, but I don't want to do spoilers because I want, like, people who haven't read this to get to experience it the way I just did, where, you know, I went into it not really knowing anything about like what it was about. I would say if you've been putting this off because you've heard that it's heavy, it was more manageable than I was anticipating. So yeah, I hope that's encouraging if anybody else has been putting this off like I have. But I'm so glad. I'm so glad I read it because it was so good, and it makes me want to read Tommy Orange's new book that just came out this year and see what else he can do, because this is also his debut, which is wild. But yeah, anyways, that was really good. And I'm glad it's not on my TBR anymore. So now I am down to 1. I just have this sucker left, and I'm about 50% of the way through. So I'm not going to read anymore right now. I'm going to go make coffee. And then I told my youngest I would spend time with them. So I'm going to go do that and read this later on today. Okay. Good morning. Happy Sunday. It's the last day of Clear Your Shit. It's the last day of June, which is wild, but I'm so excited. I love July. It's my favorite month of the year. It's like the height of summer, and it's my birthday month, and it's just... it's always one of my favorite months. Has been forever. I think that might be an unpopular opinion because I know there are a lot of people who don't enjoy summer, but I love it. And I have a not insignificant chunk of Kings of the Wild to read before the end of the day. I thought I was being super smart last night because I tallied out how many chapters I had left to read, and I decided if I'd read 5 more during Saturday, and then I'd read 10 this morning before everyone woke up, and then I'd read 10 more in the afternoon just throughout the rest of the day. Joke's on me. I slept in this morning accidentally. So I haven't quite gotten to the second little tabby. I'm not very far away though. I think I have 4 more chapters. The good news is that I am about to leave to drive over to my parents, and they live about 40 minutes away. So that is a good chunk of audiobook listening time. So I don't think I'll finish while I'm driving, but I think I will. Ooh, maybe I will. Oh no. I'm on page 356, and the last page is 492. That's well over. Well, who knows? I'm also listening to it at 2 times speed because the narrator talks slow, so I can speed it up quite a bit. So we'll see. Who knows? Anything could happen. I am having so much fun. It's really nice to now only be reading this and to be focusing my attention on it. I did have a moment this morning where I was like, can these guys just freaking catch a break? Because they are just suffering. I also did go and I read, there's a little like interview with Nicholas Ames in the back of the book in those like gray section. And I did read that. And his acknowledgments, because that's sometimes what I do when I'm reading a book is I always read the acknowledgments, but sometimes I'll go and I'll read them before I'm actually done with the book. And in the interview, he said that the idea for this is, what if it was like a band of mercenaries, but they were treated the way we treat rock stars? And that makes a lot of sense. And he talked about like each person in this band and why they have the weapons that they have and how that relates to like the instrument in a rock band. Anyways, I thought that was kind of fun. I was already enjoying the book, but it definitely bumped it up a little bit now to have that in my head while I'm reading. So yeah, I'm having a good time. A new character got introduced in the last like 5 chapters who I'm really liking. I think I was starting to feel a little bit of staleness, and having these extra perspectives interjected are making it a lot more fun. I mean, it was already fun, but now it's like even more fun. So I just want them to like catch a break. I want them to be able to sleep in a bed and not have anyone try to kill them for like 24 hours. That's what I want. That's not going to happen. But I really hope they all get to sleep in like an actual bed soon is my hope. So yeah, here's hoping I can get this done today, and then we can wrap up Clear Your Shit. And I'm really excited. I know I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. I'm really excited for July. I have some video ideas for July that I'm really looking forward to filming. I don't know like how they'll perform, obviously, but just I'm excited about getting to film them, which is always nice to look forward to that. The goal is to always have things that I'm looking forward to film. Because if I'm not looking forward to filming it, then what's the point of filming it? I say this knowing I'm going to have to film a wrap-up in the next couple of days for June, and I don't like filming the wrap-ups. So I haven't figured out a fun way to do this yet, but I'm hoping maybe I can come up with something. I don't know. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to stop rambling because that's officially what I'm doing now. And hopefully I'll be back to tell you that I was victorious in achieving my goals. I finished, but it's late, so I'll tell you about it tomorrow. Good morning, friends. So it is July 1st, so I need to wrap up this vlog. And as you saw last night, I did finish Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames, and I'm gonna give it, I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I don't know, Nicholas Ames came for me a little bit towards the end of this book, and I definitely gasped out loud while reading, which I usually don't do. Like, my husband and I were reading together, and I gasped, which is unusual. And then I said, "Oh no," out loud, which is also unusual. I'm not usually a very like outwardly reactive reader. So well done. And I really like the ending. I really like this group of characters. Now, does this book pass the Bechdel test? Absolutely not. Yes, there are women and women-coded creatures in this book, but they never talk to each other. So, you know, it is very much like a bro book. And I don't read a lot of like bro fantasy, but I had a really good time. I thought it was fun. I may pick up book 2. So this plot does resolve itself in this. So the second book that I was talking about earlier is like a companion book. It features a very minor character from this one. So yeah, I might pick that up and see if Nicholas Ames can write from a female point of view. we'll see. But overall, I had a really good time. I thought it was really fun. It was very lighthearted. I think if you like the Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine, like that kind of like epic adventure fantasy with lots of monsters and lots of battles, but still kind of like lighthearted and sometimes a little like goofy in its humor, I think you would like this. It gave similar vibes. And with that, we are done with this little mini Clear Your Shit readathon. Which is great. I also think this is the first time I have started a new month not currently reading anything. Like I finished all of my current reads yesterday, which is wild. That almost never happens. I usually have at least one carryover. But let's talk about this week instead of talking about this coming week. So I read 3 books. I'm not going to go get them because I don't want to. I don't want to stand up. But I read really good books this week. I read Conspiracy in Belgravia for continuing a book in a series. I read There for a book that's been recommended to you. And of course, Kings of the Wild was a carryover from last week for reading a book with a map. And nothing got below a 4 because The Conspiracy in Belgravia, Kings of the Wild were both 4.5, and I gave There 5 stars. So not too shabby. I think June, when I do my wrap up, is definitely going to be my best reading month of the year, which is really exciting. And I'm just so happy with how this little readathon went. It was so much fun, and I hope you all had fun following along, and I'm again so excited for July. So with that, let's do some sort of emoji. What do we want to do? Let's do a guitar emoji, since these guys are supposed to be like inspired by rock and roll musicians. So let's do a guitar emoji, and like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye!